You're here because you want to learn how to manifest. And in this video today, I'm going to be giving you my simple 3-step method to manifestation. It is so simple, it is so easy. Anyone can pick it up and anyone can use it right now and start applying it in their lives and get whatever they want, whatever their desire is, no matter what it is. You can have it, okay? So it's a simple 3-step method. I'm gonna be referring to my notes from time to time. And it really follows essentially the basics of law of assumption. And I need to lay some groundwork out before I go to the 3 steps. But every single part of this video is critically important for you to understand. So don't skip ahead to the 3 steps. Start here because once you have a basic understanding of this, it's gonna be so much easier for you to just follow the 3 steps because you understand what you're actually doing, okay? So the first key principle is this law of assumption. Okay, so everything that you assume to be true will be true for you. These assumptions can be on other people. These can be on general worldview things about yourself. A lot of times you have beliefs, and over time, essentially, what is a belief? A belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over and over again, right? And eventually it solidifies into a belief. A lot of these beliefs, it's some kind of semantic sometimes, but a lot of the strong beliefs that you don't even think about them as beliefs are essentially assumptions because you've completely adopted them into your worldview in how you see yourself. Okay, so examples of this would be like, I am always chosen, or maybe I am not always chosen. I'm always not prioritized. Maybe I am not deserving of love. That can be an assumption of yourself. This can be working on your own self-concept. We'll talk about that a little bit later, okay? How you see things in the world. Maybe like money doesn't grow on trees is an assumption that, or originally a thought, then it turns into a belief that maybe perhaps your parents instilled in you at a young age, or maybe society and people out there, other family members, brought this into your awareness and you just adopted it without even understanding and realizing it. Most of them at childhood, okay? So the very most first important thing to understand is the law of assumption, which means that I'm using assumption here, but anything you assume to be true or perceive to be true will be true for you, okay? And it's gonna be critically important, and also you can use this to your advantage to manifest. Okay, so the second principle I wanna go over is that all creation is already finished. Okay, you have to understand that all creation is already finished. Every possible infinite reality already exists. And there's a potential for you to access it right now in this moment. Every single thing exists. So when we are thinking of in our 3D plane of existence, we do go through something called time. But time is essentially an illusion. Every single moment in every single day is a new moment. It's a completely new reality. Completely new reality. So we are always shifting. Bashar talks about this quite often. We are always shifting in a next moment, next moment, no, next moment. It's a completely different reality. Now, it might seem very similar to the reality that we were in just previously, because that's how we experience time on this planet, right? But essentially, all infinite, and quantum physics has already started to see evidence of this. Not started, but for a while now, that oftentimes, okay, basically, if you've heard of parallel realities, quantum physics, the observer affects what the actual thing that's actually happening is. They will see the observer will have an influence on that. Essentially, it's that our perspective is critical in how we experience reality. Okay, let me put it again in a more clear way. Our perspective is going to influence how we experience reality. Again, that goes back to law of assumption. So here, the important principle that you have to understand is that all creation is already finished. You're not working or building up something. It's a literal, real reality right now that exists in potential that you can access. And we're going to get to how we can access that reality. But you have to understand this because this is so important. Manifestation is not about getting something, okay? Because there is already a reality where that thing is already in our possession, or that person's already in our possession. We're already experiencing that thing. This is really important, okay? Okay, and there are infinite versions of you experiencing anything and everything you can possibly imagine. There's a version of you that's an Olympic swimmer. There's a version of you that's an artist. There's a version of you that's a huge celebrity. There's a version of you that's a farmer. There's a version of you that is in every single possible configuration that you can possibly imagine and think of. If you can imagine, if you can think of it, it means it exists. Right now, there is a version of you that's experiencing that right now. This is critical when we go to our 3 steps in manifesting, okay? And our power is in our consciousness and awareness to select the reality we want. So this is powerful, okay? This is probably one of the most important key concepts you need to understand when you're manifesting, is that we have the power is from our awareness. It's from our awareness. Because through our awareness, we get to select which reality we want to experience. Remember, all realities are already finished. They're already created. They're all valid. They already exist. When we're manifesting, what we are really doing is we're going into our awareness. We're selecting the reality we want to experience because there's a version of us that's really already living in that reality. And we shift to that reality. So that's the reality we're going to be experiencing in our 3D physical realm. That is what manifestation is, okay? So let's go further, okay? I am the source. You are the source. All of us is consciousness. We have this inner consciousness inside us. People call it God, Christ consciousness, source, universe, whatever it is. We are, first of all, we are all the same, okay? But we are an individual point of consciousness that is experiencing life through in this 3D reality to learn, to experience, to grow, to enjoy it. And to essentially, when we first came in, we forgot that we are all powerful. Now we are remembering. We are remembering. We are awareness. We are all powerful. We can experience. We can shift into different realities. We can do, and this is so fun, right? If we knew of our power right from the start, there would be no fun. We'd already know it all. The whole point of us to experience this is by forgetting, so we can rediscover our power and really have fun within it when we are. And this is the point of this video. That's what manifestation is. That's what shifting reality is. Okay? Okay, so essentially, we are each awareness. We are each source. And we put on an identity like a mask. Okay, so there's a mind, an ego, a self-concept. I'm sure you've heard of this before. We are not our thoughts. We are not our feelings. We're not our emotions. We're not even our assumptions. Okay, we're not even our beliefs. We are this point of consciousness, this awareness, the source. And what happens is we put on an identity. Sometimes that identity is created through society, from other people influencing us, but ultimately it is us choosing to put on the identity. And this identity has a mind of its own. Remember, that's where the thoughts come from. An ego, self-concept. It's kind of all the same thing. Okay. Yes, some people distinguish it, but for the purposes of manifestation, it's ultimately the same thing. That ego mind is linked to an identity. And this identity is simply a mask that we put on. We put on a mask. And this mask that we put on, when we put that on, we are in a particular state. And that brings me to the 3 steps. First, you have to detach from your current reality that you don't prefer. And how do you do this? By detaching from the state of being that you are currently occupying. You take off that mask, that identity you've clung to so hard for so long. Okay? Your name, your thoughts, it doesn't mean that you completely say like, hey, I'm not my name anymore. I'm not who. No, what I'm saying is the parts of you that you no longer enjoy or like about this reality, you have to give it all up. That's not really you anyways. You've just been taking that on. Think of it in this way. If you were to have an accident and you got amnesia, complete amnesia, you can't remember your name, you can't remember your birthday, you can't remember your parents, your friends, your location, none of those things. Complete blank slate. But there's still that person that's woken up. There's a consciousness there. There's an awareness there. That's the source I'm talking about. Right? That is who you truly are. So all those other things, you've had amnesia. Those are all gone. That's not who you are. You can choose who you are. Of course, you can remember it. And yes, you might be this, and you have these parents and these friends, and I get that, right? But ultimately, that source being, that puts on that identity, that mask. The first step to manifestation, you got to let go of it. You got to detach from it. The best way to do this is simply to recognize that your awareness That's not even who you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, you're not your emotions, you're not your self-concept, your beliefs, your assumptions, your ego. That's just your ego. It's trying to cling on so hard. So you just got to detach from that. Let go of that old story. Okay, let go of that old story that doesn't serve you. Because that reality that you're currently living in, there's something you want to change about it. That's why you want to manifest something. You want to manifest a specific person. You want to manifest love. You want to manifest career, money, wealth, house, car, whatever it may be. So you have to let go of that old story that you don't have that yet, that you lack those things that you want. Okay? And all it is, it's as simple as taking off that mask. And I understand, like, yes, there's a lot of techniques that can help you with this. But ultimately, it's that simple. Decide to take off that mask. That's the first step, detachment. Okay. Second step, now you have to choose the reality you do prefer. So from the first step, obviously you have desires, right? Second step, you have to choose which reality do you want to, which state of being do you want to put that mask on? Which reality do you want to experience? You get to, through your power of awareness, choose the one that you prefer to experience. That is key, okay? Because you have the choice. You can select. You can select which one it is that you want. And the reason why I do step one is detachment is because step one, detachment, the old story often limits us, limits the possibilities that we think is possible for us. So once we've detached from that old story and then we select, we can select literally anything we want. Anything, because we no longer harbor the old story limiting beliefs, okay? In the point of awareness, everything is possible. All infinite realities, all configurations already exist. There's no hard work for us to do except to choose which one we want to experience. It's as simple as that. And that brings me to step 3, which is that you have to embody the version of you that's already living that reality that you chose in step 2. You have to embody that state. The majority of techniques out there, imagination, affirmation, scripting, robotic affirmations, subliminals, most of these techniques focus on this step, embodying the state. But that's the third step. That's just the third step, okay? Don't skip step 1 and step 2. They're critically important. The reason why a lot of these techniques don't work is because people are doing techniques in order to get something. And you can't do that because when you're the state, when you are truly embodying the state of already having, so how you actually shift from the reality that you don't have your desire, from that reality that's the old story that you've been telling yourself, to the reality where you are experiencing everything that you want, already having your desire, already experiencing that manifestation in your 3D reality. There is a version of you that's already experienced that in this moment. How you get to that reality, how you shift to that reality, is by embodying the version of you that's already in that reality. So that means that it's a knowing. It is a knowing that it is done. That it's already in your possession. Okay? So you need to truly embody the state. That means, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? I'm talking about emotions here. Happy, sad, satisfied, relaxed, anxiety, right? How do you act? How do you respond to things? How do you assume and perceive the world? What do you assume about yourself? What identity or self-concept or ego does that version of you that is living in that reality, your dream reality that has the manifestation already, what is that? And then you take that mask and you put it on. It's as simple as that. That is embodying. So you align everything. You don't force those things, by the way. You don't force your thoughts. You don't force your emotions. You decide that that's who you are. And naturally, your emotions, your thoughts, your assumptions, your beliefs, they're going to follow. Okay? So those are the 3 steps. That's really all you need to manifest. And here's the thing. When you are embodying that state, you don't have to be in it 24/7. You just keep returning consistently. The more consistent you return to that state, the more it's going to go. You're going to feel it in your bones. It's going to be it's just a naturalness and knowing that that manifestation is already done, because in your reality, you've always had it. It's always existed in that reality. And you have to understand that every moment is a new opportunity to shift. Every moment is a new opportunity to experience that reality. And when you're embodying the state, whether you're doing it through imagination or affirmations or scripting, it doesn't matter. When you are in that state, when you're doing step 3, you are literally experiencing that reality, that dream reality that you already have your manifestation, that desire, okay? You are literally in that moment experiencing that. And the more you do that, the more the actual 3D external reality is going to shift and conform and change around you to get you to that point. And those are the 3 steps. Okay, so let's quickly do a summary of what I just talked about. There is something called the old state and the new state. So the old state, step 1, you have to detach from the old state. That doesn't have what you want. That's not the version that's you right now, but that's not the version of you that you want to continue living as. But there is out there a new state, a different state, the version of you that has everything that you want, that has that manifestation, your dream reality, that life that's already experiencing right now. You just have to embody that new state, become that version of you, and you're naturally going to shift there. The 3D world is going to shift there. That's not your job how it shifts there. Your job is to let go of the old state and embody the new state. So all we really have to do is remove the mask of the old identity, the old state, and replace it with the mask of the new identity, the new state. And guess what? Eventually, over time, your new identity, new state, you might have new desires that pop up. There might be new challenges that you pop up that you never thought possible when you were in your previous old state. But now that new state, that new identity, now becomes your old state. And guess what? You can take that mask off and then put a new mask on, that new identity, that new state, and continue to manifest and grow in that way and continue to experience life in a beautiful, magical, wonderful way as we're all meant to live. Okay? So here's the other thing. Everything in the 3D world reflects our inner state. Everything. From people, from places, from experiences that we have, everything that we interact with, everyone we interact with, they're really just reflecting some aspect of us. You have to really understand this. This is what Neville Goddard talks about when everyone is you pushed out. Okay? They are just reflecting some form of us, something internal, whether it's our self-concept or maybe it's our assumption about them or some specific experience. The point is that everything out there in our external world is simply just a reflection of us. Okay? So if it's a reflection of our inner state, that means that when we change our inner state, we change the outer external reality. And that is why you get rid of the old state, you detach from it, you no longer identify with it, and you embody the new state, right? Because when you have shifted from the old state to the new state and you stay in that new state as consistent as possible and you remain in that new state, it means that that new state becomes your dominant inner state. And when it becomes your dominant inner state, the outer external reality has no choice but to reflect that back to you. And guess what? That new state that you've adopted, that you've embodied, well, that's the state, the version of you that's already experiencing the dream life, the dream reality that has the manifestation. And so when external reality reflects that back to you, it's reflecting that reality that already exists right now, that reality back to you. So you get to experience it in the 3D world. And that is manifestation. That is the crux of manifestation. Okay? And that's essentially what it is and what it means to live your dream life. So by experiencing the imaginative world, the inner world, as the true reality, the 3D will shift to reflect who we are being in our imagination. That's why it's so important to work on our internal self. Internally. When we shift internally, it's going to be reflected in the external world. And we're going to be able to experience it in our 3D world. So you don't have to worry so hard about navigating the 3D world. You show up to it, you do what you got to do, but ultimately, it's your inner state that really matters because the outer state is the outer reality is going to reflect what's going on inside. Okay? So just to quickly sum up the 3 steps for simple manifestation. First step, detaching from your old state, detaching from your old story. Detaching from those old assumptions, those assumptions that are not serving you about yourself or of other people. Second, choose the reality that you wish to experience. Choose the version of you that is living your dream life, that already has manifestation. And 3, embody that version of you. The thoughts, the feelings, the actions, the perceptions, the assumptions, the self-concept, all of those things, embody it. Live as that. In your imagination, in your affirmations, in your scripting. It doesn't matter what technique you use, make sure that that is who you truly are when you're using those techniques. Because those techniques only assist you if you are truly in that state and helping you keep and maintain that state. Okay? And that's how simple manifestation is. That's my simple 3-step method. Go rewatch this over and over and over again. Don't skip the first half because that has critical information that allows you to understand how creation actually works, how reality actually works, how manifestation actually works. Ultimately, we are shifting ourselves from a reality that we don't prefer to a reality that we do prefer. And our manifestation that doesn't exist in the original or isn't in our reach or isn't in our possession is in our possession in the new reality, which already exists right now anyways. And that's it. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, comments down below, please leave them there. And remember to subscribe. I'm always here to help you. Until next time. Bye, everyone.